the offline. Is it going? Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, this is a weird ass podcast, and we're gonna talk about judo. My name's Ree Muramoto, and I'm here with my friend Aaron Baker.
Hi, Aaron.
Okay, so tell a bit about your background and experience with martial arts and judo as a whole.
So I've been doing martial arts since I was about 8 years old. I started in taekwondo, and I've been doing that, from the age of 8 to the age of 20, which I am now. And I also did wrestling in high school, and I am a green belt in judo, and I've been doing that since freshman year of high school.
All right. This is going to be so weird. So we're just going to talk about, questions. Okay?
Okay.
So, I don't know, were you the one during practice that talked about, doing judo is better than doing dance or whatever? Was that you? No. Okay, so do you think there's any benefits to doing judo?
I guess the benefit would mostly be the physical side. Judo is not really the most practical martial art in terms of use outside of, the setting.
Right. Because the way most judo throws are implemented or initiated is by getting grips on somebody, but most people today don't wear long sleeve or jackets outside of where they live and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, they don't people don't dress that way. A lot of it's it's kind of dated because it's based on jiu-jitsu, and like he was saying, where it's from clothing that existed a long time ago that people just don't wear. Most people wear t-shirts and stuff.
Interesting enough, do you think that if you did judo for a long amount of time, do you think your balance would have gotten better?
I think definitely. There's a lot of what you do is to improve your balance, to get better at throwing, and to get stronger.
Yeah, because I researched this paper, this health paper, or sports health paper, I guess you could say, and it basically had the title, "Judokas were better with balance than ballet dancers." Do you believe that in any sense?
I might believe that with competitive judoka, but I don't think so for recreational ones.
Right. Yeah, I think it was definitely competitive. And the way they set it up was basically they had each participant blindfolded, and then they would spin them around, and then they would move around, and they would pressure, they would step on something that would measure the pressure of where their foot was, and they saw that the judokas had the most balance comparatively, which is very interesting because if you think about it, you think that ballet dancers have the most balance.
Yeah.
However, the way the paper described it was that yes, they have a lot of balance, but they don't have a lot of balance out of the norm. So in judo, during sparring or during tournaments, you're getting placed in weird positions where your balance might be slightly off, and you have to counterbalance yourself, right?
Yeah. In
ballet, they don't really do that. They just step on their forefront of their toes and just balance from there.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. It's definitely different because of the fact that you have to take into account your balance and the other person's balance.
All right. And you're also kind of a history buff too, right?
Yeah, a bit.
So there's another paper that I saw that basically talked about how in some way or fashion judo played some part in creating a post, not the post, but kind of gave Japan propaganda for more nationalism, I guess you could say, or gave that teaching, I guess, to be more nationalistic, you know what I mean? Oh, okay. So you don't know what I mean? Okay, so basically it talks about how
it was national pride.
And how it was developing this representation of the smaller person compared to everybody else in the world can be victorious.
About,
that.
Yeah. Is Japan made after it was made the national sport they really promoted it and, you know, tried to get a lot of people to start doing it. It's because of, like he was saying, the, like, small guy in a world of big people. Judo's about, you know, using strength. I mean, not using strength and focusing more on grace and skill, you know, to best larger opponents. And so Japan historically, you know, has been attacked by countries like China and, you know, surrounding places like, you know, when the Mongols invaded them at one point. And I guess it's kind of representative of that, is that they would come up with, you know, an art that's very much revolving around that sort of concept.
Okay, since this is getting awkward for you, we'll just like do some random questions, okay?
Okay.
Favorite throw?
Head and arm.
Okay, what is head and arm for the people that don't know?
There's another name in Japanese for it. It's, I have to think of it.
It's basically it's a throw where the person initiating the throw wraps their arm around the person's head and uses that momentum from that tension from the bodies to just throw them from there.
Yeah. And there are actually a couple different ways of throwing it. You could throw them by using a lot of hip strength, or you could throw them by using mostly arm strength, or you could fall into them by going at them really fast. So it's an underestimated throw, but a lot of people don't favor it because they think it's too simple or, you know, too easy to counter.
Or it's like against like the traditional way of throwing, right?
Yeah, mostly because it's more of a grappler throw, and I think it came from wrestling.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of people are purists when it comes to judo, but if it's legal and it makes you win, I don't see why people wouldn't use it.
It's interesting in how Japan has a lot of pride with their grappling arts. Like, I don't know if you ever noticed, but outside of like WWE and stuff like that, do you know like the next biggest like country that like favors like professional wrestling and stuff like that? Like,
I know it's
like,
Japan, right?
Yeah, like the showy kind of like wrestling and stuff like that. Yeah, it's Japan.
Yes, they have like show wrestling out there, and it's kind of weird because it's basically just Japanese WWE or Raw.
Yeah. And so that, I don't know, it just gave me like epiphany, because like in the past, like people from Japan that grappled did like a lot of like things to like raise like national pride and stuff like that. For example, like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right? It happened because
A Japanese businessman, right?
As a count from Japan that studied judo and was a black belt, started going country hopping around the country, and he would challenge other grapplers in a grappling match. And there wasn't only one person that did this. Like multiple Japanese judokas would go around the world to challenge people in grappling, which is kind of like mind-boggling, because that basically was like,
it was before organized martial arts, huh?
Yeah, I was like almost like the original MMA of the time, where like they would just pit one style against another.
Yeah.
You have any favorite chokes or joint knocks?
My favorite choke.
Is it the rear naked?
I would say my favorite's rear naked, but I never really get it because usually I'm not behind someone. My favorite would be, I know there's a different name for it, but it's scarf choke, and I think that's my favorite.
Scarf choke.
Basically what it is you imagine, because I guess, you know, since it's a podcast, they can't really see a gi, is you basically, you grab their lapel.
Or their collar.
Yeah, the top of their collar with one hand. And with the other, you chase, you grab the other side of their lapel and you chase it around their neck and you pull it taut until they can't breathe. That's probably my favorite attack.
Right. So there's a lot of ground fighting in judo, but nowadays there's not really too much emphasis on it, and there's a lot of like forbidden, I guess, moves in judo. What's your opinion on like moves like heel hooks and stuff like that? Because you see a lot of heel hooks and like leg attacks in other grappling arts, but you don't see it in judo.
I would say, on one hand, it was a sacrifice that kind of had to happen for the sport to grow, because a lot of them were taken out because of the high injury rate for athletes, but also because of the way they make matches progress. It's not as, entertaining to watch, which is sad, because you kind of lose part of judo in the process of making things illegal, right?
Yeah.
People never do them anymore, and then people don't really practice it, and it doesn't become like something people get very good at,
Yeah.
And so it's good because the sport grows, but it's sad because something's kind of lost in the process. But overall, I would have to say it's probably negative, because you see a lot of martial arts like taekwondo today, which I used to participate in, is they start making things illegal, or they, create special rules and things like that. And it kind of makes it so that, it's more about winning by points or something like that than about, the core idea of the martial art.
All right. I think it's interesting that judo kind of forbids any attacks to the legs, while in comparison, like the offshoot style of like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, like a lot of BJJ has them like attacking the leg, and in times right now, like a lot of BJJ guys don't acknowledge that judo is like the foundation of what BJJ was, but like the top coaches that do like no-gi, grappling, and BJJ use leg locks. And there's another podcast by a guy named Joe Rogan who had this coach named John Danaher, who was like the top leg locker guy. And they started asking questions about like where he got his foundation for leg locks. He basically told him that he got his leg lock from old books about judo, which is, I don't know why, but that was interesting. Like he just goes back to like using like Japanese terms for it, and like in like olden day judo, there was like a lot of style. There's a lot of leg locks and stuff like that.
It's also interesting because the way most people practice judo isn't the way that judo was originally conceived of. It was still foundation-wise very close to jiu-jitsu. Old style jiu-jitsu, not the jiu-jitsu you see today. And old style jiu-jitsu is almost dead. It still exists, and some people practice it. It's just, to really find it in its pure original form is not that common. And the interest in it is very low.
Okay, we'll just go to the next question. Do you think kids should do judo? Because judo is kind of like offered as like this like quote unquote contact sport that doesn't really harm people, or don't give as much injuries comparative to like other contact sports like football.
My opinion on that, on the second thing that you said, is a little mixed. And it's that there's a lot we don't know about brain damage.
Right.
This is mostly me coming from being
in wrestling and stuff like that.
Yeah, is we don't really know whether, it's just concussions that cause brain damage, or if there's, subconcussive factors from you bumping your head, or from the brain shake that occurs when you get thrown. And so I would have to say, on the regard of brain health, it's probably a no for me. But in regards to, the things it teaches you, I would say it is probably a net positive for kids to learn it. But I definitely wouldn't have them, doing it, the full contact way.
All right. Thanks for talking to me about judo, and I'll see you some other time.
Don't cut it, Reed. Those are memories. That's how